This is the voice of the Report of the Week, signing on. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone listening. This is VORW Radio International, the voice of the Report of the Week. It is Thursday, the 27th of December, 2018. You also may be hearing this broadcast on Friday the 28th, Saturday the 29th, or Sunday the 30th of December, 2018. This is our final show of the year 2018. VORW Radio International is a weekly light entertainment program which features a mixture of my talk and commentary as well as listener-requested music. VORW Radio International can be heard multiple ways each and every single week, online via TuneIn Radio, SoundCloud, on your phone via the TuneIn and SoundCloud radio apps. This broadcast also is available on the international shortwave on the frequencies of 99.55 kHz, 93.95, 77.80, 77.30, 75.70, 59.50, 58.50, and 48.40 kHz. No matter how you're listening, when you're listening, or where you're listening from, I wish you good reception conditions, and I hope you enjoy this broadcast. So today's program, you're really going to be getting probably 3 for the price of 1. This is going to be, of course, a somewhat New Year's show, because it is the last recorded broadcast of 2018, so I think I will take a few moments to reminisce upon 2018, just as a year, and we'll just have it's not like I'm going to emphasize this as any sort of New Year's special or anything, but it's the, the last of the year, so may as well just reflect upon it. Anything that's, that's happened, anything you want to talk about, it's fine. Of course, we are, everyone lumps in Christmas and New Year. We're still in the holiday season. We'll have a little bit of light conversation on that. I'm also going to take a listener-requested topic, because it's something that's been on my mind, and I think it's something that has been on a lot of our minds recently. We might not have been thinking of it much before, but I think it has come to perhaps even the forefront in some cases of our mind, that being the economy, what it holds for 2019. Likewise, we're going to have your dedications, music requests, and shout-outs all coming up. You can reach me at vorwinfo@gmail.com. Well, I hope you all had a very pleasant Christmas if you celebrated it. I hope it ended up being at least somewhat enjoyable, and hopefully it wasn't overly bad. I know the holiday season has its stress, and it has its upset and its frustration, and I know it could be a little rocky. If it wasn't the best one, just tell yourself, well, there's always next year, there's always the next one, and just remember this: just because everyone else is doing something does not mean by default you have to do that as well. But I hope you had a very pleasant Christmas, happy Boxing Day, Kwanzaa, whether you're just celebrating anything else or not at all. I hope it was at the very least a good week for you. One thing that I think a lot of people have been looking at very recently is the economy. It's one of those things that you don't really think about unless there's something to worry about. And this is going in regards to the average person. Of course, you have investors, hardcore businessmen who look at the markets and try to just predict any trends and what's going on, and that is their livelihood. But I think the average person really doesn't think about the economy any more than they have to, unless there is the possibility that things are looking a little shaky going forward. And we got a question from a listener in Virginia. I'm just going off of memory here, but you know who you are. And he had a question. He said, do you think the economy is going to crash in 2019? Now, I myself am not an investor and an economist, but I have been trying my best to pay attention to the markets, the Dow Jones, the Nasdaq, the S&P 500, and many of the other global markets, research and read up on this. And try to get my own feel for what I think is going to happen. I do not think that there will be a full-blown crash, because you have to remember, in the context of the word a crash, you are talking about not a recession, but a full-blown depression. I do not think that that will happen in 2019. I do not think it will happen in 2020. If you ask me honestly, I think we're headed into a recession economically. I believe we are. Very likely by 2020. Might be already in 2019. I think that there are some rocky times ahead. I'd like to be proven wrong, but I think it is uniform nearly across the board that we are going to be headed into a rather rough patch, economically speaking, for the year 2019. I know that's not the best way to start things off, but I think, especially for those of us who haven't really been paying attention to it, we've kind of been looking at the Dow Jones, and you've been seeing it slipping and slipping each day, losing hundreds of points, and you're kind of just scratching your head. You might not even know what the Dow Jones is, but you see it going down, and you know that that's not necessarily a good sign. For a moment, I just want to try to give a very brief explanation, in simple, plain English, as to really why it's doing what it's doing, and what it might mean to be in a recession. Now, first things first. These are not my words, but I think this explains it really what I've seen the best. Because sometimes you will see things that just use terms. It's just overwhelming for the average person who might not really have their foot in the door in terms of economics. But this is from Reddit user Mick Demi, who wrote as follows, and I agree with it. In regards to the question, why are there predictions that there will be a recession next year? The individual writes, the U.S. Fed is raising interest rates and unloading their balance sheet. That means there is less money in the country's money supply. Businesses are forced to borrow at higher rates, which means they have to be more conservative about their decisions in opening new plants or businesses and hiring new people, as it will cost more with higher interest rates. Now, less plants and stores being developed and less people being hired causes less spending in the economy, which means businesses will make less money. This causes even less hiring, potential layoffs. The compression of the economy causes a cyclical loop. Perhaps you could even say, in some cases, not always, but a positive feedback loop. And that's what really drags it down. Less corporate profits means more layoffs, which means even less corporate profits. The Fed raising interest rates has scared many people, which causes the discussion of a potential recession forecast. Now, you might say to yourself, all right, well, it kind of sounds like you're just blaming the Federal Reserve and raising interest rates. Why not just get rid of it? Why don't they just lower interest rates? Well, that has an issue too. You see, keeping interest rates too low and continually expanding the money supply creates inflation, and we all know inflation is not a good thing. Look at Venezuela, which causes an entirely different set of economic problems. So, since we are off the gold standard, we have been for a while, and have a central bank lowering and raising interest rates, expanding and contracting the money supply, well, it creates a natural boom and bust, expansion and contraction economy. Think of the state of the economy as like a sine wave. It undulates, it goes up, and then it goes down. And then it goes back up again. And then it goes down. It's about a 10-year cycle. You can look at the 100-year average for the Dow Jones, and you look at the last 80 years, and it is exactly that for the most part. Perhaps not as extreme in its dips and its curves, but it's like a snake. It goes up, it goes down, and then it goes back up again. And it has been going up for a good number of years now. Nothing goes up forever. It's going down. It's on its way down as we speak. But please do not think that this is the end of the world. One thing that you have to understand, like it's been mentioned, is that it is completely cyclic. It has its ups, it has its downs, and just remember, it will go up again. Now, of course, it isn't just the Fed and one single action that was responsible to this. Other important factors do include the 25% tariffs, which caused costs to go up, less corporate profit there, and a yield curve which is almost negative and really considered to be one of the strongest signals of a recession, according to investors. Now, does this mean we are guaranteed to be in a declining recession? Not necessarily, but there certainly are a lot of warning signs out there. You have to keep in mind the economy never, ever stays completely stable. Like we've mentioned, the tariffs have hurt various sectors, including the car companies, it is a massive industry, the agricultural sector, which has really been having issues with the soybean crop in regards to the trade war, and just a lot of general nervousness amongst investors in regards to just current events, all combined with the interest rate increase by the Fed, has led to what we're going with now. Now, some individuals have speculated that the housing market in China is a bubble that will burst eventually, and they possibly think that there may be a student loan bubble in the U.S. as well as the automotive loan industries, though that is very debatable, and the likelihood of that happening in any immediate time is quite low. In short, everything in the economy is, it's a little strange right now, and as you've been seeing, things have been dipping down. I think the question we need to ask is how far are they going to dip? Where will the bottom be? We just don't know at this point. And what will the impacts of this be? It all depends on the circumstance. Is this going to be one of those situations that's highly talked about, and truly the impact is just going to be on a number of investors, and perhaps some individuals who had mutual funds and 401ks who were really planning to pull out and make their money this year? Maybe that'll be the extent of it. Could it go down further, though? Will it go down? Will you end up seeing pay cuts, layoffs? Will that amount of bread on the table become a little less than what we have now? Possibly. Will it end up being to the point where there is no bread on the table, and you're really starting to worry where to find any? I don't think it's going to be that bad. I don't think that any of the banks are going to close. I think your money is going to be safe there. I think it'll be perfectly fine. I think, to give unsolicited advice, and to be honest, probably throw this in the trash bin, but I say, if you probably want to make a profit, if it keeps going down and you don't have anything in, and you really want to get serious about investing, that's when you should enter the market and buy. But like anything else, before you make a move, bear in mind, investing is a gamble, and don't forget it. Things are going down right now. It may very well go down further, but just remember, it's not the end of the world. Life will very likely continue onward without too much issue. In my own circumstance, of course, here with YouTube, I imagine if things go down further, of course, most of my revenue is from ad rates on the YouTube channel. Of course, with large corporations being those most severely impacted by any economic downturn, I expect the ad rates to drop. I expect them to go down substantially. However, if a company wants to remain afloat, they still will need to advertise. Therefore, I don't think it will go away entirely. Do I think I'm going to have a pay cut? Of course. And with that, it'll very likely transfer over to the radio airtime, and I might have to make a few cutbacks. I'm just going to have to be smart, see what comes in, how things are looking. I think we all really need to be, and we'll just go from there. Right now, this next period, I would wager, is a wait-and-see kind of deal. See what the real professionals are forecasting, what they believe. Look for yourself at the numbers. Do not make any rash decisions. Sometimes the best thing is to just wait it out. You got something in there, wait it out. It will go back up. It might take a while, but very likely it will. But for now, I would just keep your eyes peeled, be observant, but continue life as normal. And if things really hit the fan, trust me, you'll know about it. So the 2018 year in review, from really my perspective, I'm just going to really talk about what went down for me in 2018, especially in regards to this YouTube channel and this radio show. I mean, it has been one heck of a year, I'll tell you that. And I'm not going to keep this. I'm going to try and keep it. If I keep it long, I'm going to try and keep it interesting. Of course, this year in general, worldwide, I think has had its ups and downs. Though I can't really say 2018 is one of those years where there's been an absolutely cataclysmic event or anything, anything outstandingly positive or negative that's really happened. It's like it's another year. Really indistinguishable from the last one, if you ask me. I mean, yes, advancements were made here and there, and, some good has happened, some bad has happened. But how? Like, look at it this way, right? You can, because I know most of us listening are from the U.S., like, you can identify 2016 because of the presidential election. Can you really tell 2017 and 2018 apart, maybe aside from whatever went on personally? I mean, yeah, there's some things, but they kind of just mark as really being the same. A few good things happened, a few bad things happened. Life hasn't really changed much. Doesn't really seem like society or culture or anything has really changed substantially. So, I mean, maybe this sounds underwhelming worldwide, but I don't think this is a big year in the grand scheme of things. You never know, though. I mean, looking back, who knows? I just hope if people look back at 2018, it won't be for a bad reason. But first and foremost, year in review. I'm just going to kind of just pick my brain and just talk about, whatever I want to talk about, really. This is going to be a laid-back, if it meanders, good, because that'll lead to some interesting tangents and whatever. On one note, going right back to Christmas of this year, which was really just the other day, our Christmas broadcast, it was on 9350 kilohertz, and I didn't really know how it was going to go over. I mean, I publicized it, I got the word out about it, I tried to really do a lot for it. And, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Like, I remember I've had broadcasts where I will, publicize it a little bit, and like one guy writes in, and that's it. But I gotta tell myself, well, even if one person wrote in, that doesn't mean no one's listening. I mean, like, look at it this way, right? This goes for any medium. Let me just use my own channel, for example. I was promoting one of my recent videos. I did a little Christmas special for the YouTube, and I decided to, just promote it on the social media and post a little bit of a poll alongside it. I thought, well, why not? I haven't posted a poll in a while. It's just, a fun little thing. People can interact with it, right? Looking at the post itself, it got maybe like 5 likes and maybe, like 2 comments, which doesn't seem like a lot, right? It's, for social media standards, that's low. Then I checked the poll, and, it had 900 votes. Despite the post only having just a tiny little handful of actual likes and comments, 900 people saw that poll and voted on it. You have to remember the amount of people that are actually willing to write in, leave a comment, a message, an email, or a donation is substantially, I say that 3 times for added effect, lower than the actual amount of people impacted by whatever it is that you do. And never forget that. You might see low interaction at first, on the surface, but you start scratching the surface like an iceberg, and you start going down. You're going to realize there's a lot more people that really, view and appreciate what it is that you do than you'll ever think. So that's why in the world of shortwave, even if one guy writes in, the best rule of shortwave broadcasting is for every one email you get, there are around perhaps 300 or so people that didn't write in. Because look, I am an example of that, okay? I pull out my radio each and every single day. And I spin the dial. I listen to stations. Look, I do my own show. And one of those stations that I listen to is Radio Havana, Cuba. They get an excellent signal into Florida, considering the proximity. And I'll listen to their English service pretty often. And I finally wrote them an email. I sent it off the other day. But I checked. I listened to them on almost a daily basis. And before now, the last time I emailed them was probably 9-10 months ago. Yet I'm a daily listener. And I think that goes for many people. You might listen in often, you don't write in regularly or at all. And that's okay. But anyway, the Christmas broadcast that I did, I wasn't sure how it was going to do. I really tried to promote it. And I was sitting there beforehand, and sometimes I get pessimistic. I'll admit I do. I get pessimistic. I always try to say, the grass is greener on the other side, but sometimes I'm just not looking in the right place. Because I was sitting there and I was trying to think to myself, before it aired, I thought, I wonder how many people are going to write in. And I said, alright, I bet I'm going to get maybe one email from someone who wasn't able to pick up the signal, 2 reception reports, and 2 other emails. I thought I was going to get 5 emails. And, the broadcast went out on Christmas Day at 4 p.m. Eastern on 9350 kilohertz. And I was kind of just, sitting around. I pulled out my radio, I checked the station, and my show was going out. And about 10 minutes later, I opened up the email, and there were already 70 listener reports that had already came in. And I was blown away. And all things considered, it was a massive success. It got well over 200 reports that came in from all corners of the U.S. Great coverage. We were hearing from every part of the country. Listeners in Mexico wrote in, all parts of Canada. Even in Australia, we got a few reports from Australian listeners. They picked up the shortwave signal. Over in Europe, of course, some reports from Western, Northern Europe, and even Eastern Europe. And even a listener in Japan, in Hiroshima City, Japan. Now, I remembered his name. I remembered him. He used to be a really regular listener back when I had my broadcast last year to Japan. He was a big fan, and he tuned in. He was able to pick up the signal and said hello, sent in a reception report. And I was amazed by the reach. I really was. Sometimes things work out for you, sometimes they don't. Because at first what seemed like a rousing success was met with a little bit of, look, I'll be honest with you, a little bit of disappointment, because my hopes for the broadcast were to get, not only reach an audience, which, that far exceeded. I thought maybe I would get, at best, 20 emails, and of course it far surpassed that. My hopes were to be able to get that time slot, which worked out very well, and try and incorporate that into a weekly airing as well. And unfortunately, I make it no secret that I rely on donations to pay for airtime. And that was the only thing that disappointed me, but I said, look, don't get you down. Despite the broadcast getting over 200 reports and very likely tens of thousands of listeners, $0 and 0 cents came in. 500 was needed and $0 came in. I was a little down at first, but I shrugged. I said, look, it is what it is, and you just gotta keep going forward. You gotta keep going on. Don't let a setback like that make you really forget about the impact that the broadcast had in general. So, while there's not going to be a Tuesday broadcast on 9350 kilohertz, that frequency was just, one time only at this point. First and foremost, I want to thank our two advertisers that, they help what we have stay on the air. I really want to thank dbpros.com. That's db-pros.com. They're helping sponsor this broadcast. They've been doing such a great job lately. Check them out. And also totalchoicehosting.com. They've been helping the 4840 kilohertz transmission. They've been helping that one stay alive. And I haven't really heard from the guy that manages that site in a few weeks, and I'm hoping everything's going all right. I've been trying to reach out and see what's going on. And, I said, for the month of December, I'm going to keep doing my thing and helping you out, because this guy deserves it. Because in November, again, I was also short $500 for the broadcast on 4840, because WWCR, that was the same station that did this Christmas show and the broadcast on 4840. They're a good station. Their airtime rate, it's expensive, but they do get a good signal out there. So it comes down to being $500 per broadcast with them. So I was hoping, of course, to raise the $500 to keep the Tuesday show going, and then retain the $500 from the guys at Total Choice Hosting to keep the broadcast on 4840 going. And, the one amount for the Tuesday show, which was a gamble, that's admitted, that didn't come through, and that's alright. It is what it is. It's water under the bridge. It's fine. But I really don't know where the future for 4840 is, because, again, I just haven't heard from them. They're the only reason I was able to pay the bills for that broadcast. So we're going to see where things end up for the month of January. We've got another Saturday. Still, this current one, the 29th of December, 2018. But, if you listen on 4840 kilohertz, really check them out. Go to totalchoicehosting.com. Send them an email. Let them know that I sent you there. Check out their products. And maybe even if you're feeling gracious, send them a little thank you email. Say, thanks for keeping this show going. You really appreciate it. It's up to you. But financially speaking, things they started off good for the month, and was even looking for potential expansion. Now for the month of January, we're not really sure. The broadcast we have on WRMI, thanks to your donations, we'll be able to keep those going. WWCR, though, that's the one station I like. I want to be with them for the long run, and that's where really donations are they're more important than ever. The one thing we got to remember, even when it comes down to economics, is that the Dow and the NASDAQ might look like they're a heart rate monitor going crazy. I know that's one of those conversations you don't really want to have. And a bear market usually means a recession, but you have to remember this. The one thing that never really helps the economy is holding on to your money only. Because being able to spend a little, now look, you gotta save money. You gotta save here and there and do what you can. You gotta take care of yourself, that's important. You come first. Never forget that. You, your loved ones, your family, that comes first. But you gotta remember, if everyone held on to their money, never spent anything again, it wouldn't work out very well. That's all that I can say. If donations don't come in, I can't do this broadcast. This show is done. I can't pay the radio stations anymore. They lose a client. They lose business. They lose money. And lots of shortwave listeners who sometimes tune to the medium only for this program, they stop listening. Other stations, especially domestically, stop reporting listeners. They quit. You just don't know. Sometimes one small difference can lead to big changes, positive or negative. Your financial support is very much appreciated. I accept donations one of two ways, primarily via PayPal to VORW info@gmail.com. Again, via PayPal to VORW info@gmail.com. Give what you can, whether that be $25, $50, $100, $250, or just $10. Help support the show. Let's keep it going. Another way you can support it is via Patreon at patreon.com/the report of the week. Think of it as just the report of the week, but no spaces in between those words. Without it, we can't do the show. It's plain and simple. And one thing, of course, that would be very mutually beneficial is to advertise on VORW Radio International. And it really encompasses a very broad scope of things. You have a business, a product, a service. You want to get out there to an online and a radio audience. And again, like I said, this show gets hundreds and hundreds of emails every single week. There's people out there listening, I can guarantee you that. Whether you work for a major company, small business, self-employed, whether you want to promote your online presence. Look, if you're a SoundCloud musician or rapper, you want to get a song out there, you want to premiere something, let me know. Listen, it can be anything. Whether you're selling bowler hats or beef jerky or anything in between, where you have some awesome beats going along with the bee theme, or I guess if you're doing something with bees, assuming it's ethical, and contact me. I'm willing to see what you have to offer, and I will give you a rate you can afford. One of those things that's mutually beneficial, helps this show keep going, it helps get you out there. VORWINFO@gmail.com, the general address for correspondence, reception reports, comments, feedback, advertising inquiries. That was the hardcore businessman side of me coming out. So, let's take a look at 2018 from the point of view from this, this radio show, this YouTube channel, all of that. And I know I talked about finances a lot more than I really should have, but it's one of those things, like I said, it was on my mind, and once you just get it out there, that's just how you do it. You have those, if anything you think is going to breed into that negativity, just let it flow out there. Sometimes you just let it out, it clears it out, and now I can really talk about what I was hoping to, and get an important issue out there as well. The funding, of course. This year in review. Man, 2018 has been one crazy, crazy year. And through it, I learned a lot of things when it came down to YouTube. I'll start with that. This YouTube channel has gone on a roller coaster ride especially from early 2018 into mid 2018, and then since then it's leveled out. Whereas this radio show started off about the same, and toward the end of 2018 it has just skyrocketed. The amount of stuff that comes in every week, it just goes up, and it's crazy. And that's good, though. I'm glad that the radio show is really getting up there. But the YouTube channel has been incredible. Because, and here's, what's not a secret, but here's how it is. A lot of people said, because the YouTube channel had enormous growth from the beginning of this year to the last day of it. It started out with maybe, I couldn't even tell you, maybe 500 and something thousand subscribers. And it finished with 1.2 million subscribers. Last year, around December 31st, I was averaging maybe 200, 300 subscribers a day and around 40,000 views a day. January 1st, 2018, 1,000 subscribers, 75,000 views. The next day, 1,000 subscribers, 100,000 views. Day after that, 2,000 subscribers. That is not natural growth. No video went viral. No one big person started talking about me. No huge meme came about. The YouTube algorithm picked the channel up, started promoting it, and did it continuously until May of 2018. And in that period of time, 3/4 of anything that this channel ever accomplished by the numbers was achieved then due to artificial growth. Now that's not to say that I sat there and did nothing, because that's not true. The way the YouTube algorithm works is if it likes you, it'll promote you, it'll show your videos to more people, but you have to give it something to show. And you really have to put that work in as a creator. And what I understood the most in 2018 was algorithms. They are everything when it comes down to YouTube especially. And I remember, the algorithm has a natural cycle. When it picks you up, you are just riding the wave. You are up at that high, you're feeling it, you're just riding the wave, and when it drops you, you will fall hard. The numbers will go down, and you're probably going to blame yourself for it. I know I did. It happened in May, and I kept sitting there when it used to be getting as many as 10,000 subscribers a day, and it went down to 500 subscribers a day. And I was sitting there saying, what the F did I do wrong? I even sent them an email. I said, why, what did I screw up? And their answer pretty much was, well, just moved on it. It's just a natural progression of things. Just like how we were talking about the economy earlier. It's like a sine wave. It goes up, it goes down. And it's just a natural progression. It's not going to bring it up forever. And you have to bear that in mind. But the one thing that you also have to remember, you're not going to get dropped down to rock bottom and be hemorrhaging views and subscribers either. As long as you continue to produce content, it may not be artificially boosted anymore, like it was for a few months, but if you work hard at it, and put that genuine interest into it, and that passion, joy, and creativity, those viewers that you were able to pick up, not all of them, but some of them are going to stick around. And the algorithm will not drop you entirely. You're not going to be featured as much anymore, but you're still going to get promoted, and people may still find themselves interested. And over the next several months, I really took that time to just understand the leveling out, and I've embraced it. Every month, the numbers have been in the green. In my opinion, I think the channel is doing great, because at this point, having the algorithm there boosting it, it was like having the training wheels on a bike. It's keeping it going, it's keeping it upright, But it's not really the real deal. Once the YouTube algorithm stopped promoting the channel to that extreme, do I miss it? Of course, of course. The ad rates were much better. I've been trying my best to help take care of loved ones with some very serious medical issues and hospital bills and all of that, and that made that an easier thing to do. But when those training wheels came off, it just feels great to still be able to grow the channel naturally, to still be able to put in that work and that promotion and see the comments and emails that come in. And it might not be as much, might not be what it used to be, but it's still something. And the people that it reaches are very, very real people. And that's what makes it all worth it. I try to cover things from all views here, optimistic and pessimistic. And we took a look at that pessimistic side before, because knowing that with the algorithm, you could look at 2018 as a frustrating year. You can say, with YouTube, it started out good, it rose so high, and then it dropped. Of course it's frustrating, but you gotta take those lemons that it gave you and make some lemonade out of it. You gotta realize, okay, that guidance is off now. Now it's time to really give it my all. Those seeds that were planted started to grow, and now let's make them thrive. And that's what I've really learned with 2018 and being able to keep all this going. Especially being able to juggle the channel and the radio show and try and dedicate more resources toward the radio show and really find my place in YouTube. And try and find a good equal balance between the food reviews everyone likes to see and some of the miscellaneous comedy and more serious talk-based content as well. So that's where the YouTube channel has been, and as I said, it had its ups, it had its downs, and it had something that you can look at as a very negative, pessimistic thing, but I tried my best to harness that, understand it, and utilize it to hopefully keep this channel going for many years into the future, because truly, you gotta be ready for anything. You never know what the future holds. I'm pleased to say that the channel, views and subscribers-wise, is still sustaining itself, and I'm going to keep it going, I'm going to keep, feeding the fire, so to speak. I got some new videos planned, some new reviews going, and we're just going to have some fun with it for the year 2019. You're listening to VORW Radio International, the voice of the Report of the Week. Questions, comments, feedback, reception reports, and music requests. All are welcome via rwinfo@gmail.com. I'm looking at the time right here. I have a clock on the desk here where I record, and I moved it a little closer so I can really get a good view of this, because I try to record these in the low light, just because my eyes do get sensitive to the light. I just like the darkness. So I moved it closer so I can really get a good look at it, and I've just been seeing the half hour slip away. This is definitely going to be a 2-hour show, because I do want to get your music requests in as well, so just stay tuned. If you're hearing me talking right now, this is hour 1, and then when you kind of hear the shout-outs and the music and all that, that's probably hour 2. We'll just see where it takes us. I'm just going to let the show take its own course today, and however long it is however long it is. So anyway, the last year for this radio show hasn't been as turbulent. That I'll tell you. A lot of the frequencies that we started this show out on, we are still on. Which is great. I look back, let's just think about it. 5850 kilohertz, still on it. 5950 kilohertz, we're still on that. 7730 is still going. 7780 is still going. 9395 is still going. And 9955 kilohertz, they're all still going. So the bulk of our shortwave frequencies have not changed. They haven't switched, they haven't been canceled, and that's good. Because with radio, that sustainability is what keeps an audience. Sometimes I'll see radio stations that change their frequency, every couple weeks. And it makes me wonder, like the audiences in the developing countries who use a radio with an analog dial, they might not catch it, there might be too much fading or radio jamming. I mean, they might just tune into their established frequency one day and pick up static, and they're going to be thinking, what's going on? Did the station stop? Did it, is something wrong with my radio? And they might stop listening. So I like just keeping those same frequencies going, and that consistency is key, if you ask me. Of course, the biggest increases for 2018, the addition of 5850 kilohertz, that was a frequency that was added as a solution to some of the issues of the winter propagation and be able to reach an audience then, and it's been a massive success. Later in the year, we added 4840 kilohertz, another great frequency that really got out there. But otherwise in the radio realm, not too much else has happened. I'm just very happy to say, we've had our ups and downs financially, but we're still here. We're still alive. We go month to month. I'm not gonna lie to you there. It's not like anyone just pays for the entire year. But that's okay. As long as the donations come in, and that's why I advocate them so much. It keeps the broadcast going, and we're able to sustain it and even build it. We've been expanding our online reach as well. Last year, the shows on the SoundCloud were 1 hour only. Now they're usually 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours. I'm trying to utilize social media more to just expand the show and get it out there to an online audience that might not really know about it otherwise. So I try and utilize Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Patreon to just, get the TuneIn and SoundCloud links out to the online audience. And then I try to promote the medium of shortwave to an online audience that has, never really heard of shortwave before. And, over the year I've answered hundreds of emails inquiring about it. I will try to recommend people some good radios to buy. I personally think everyone should own a radio, and I have them listed at my Amazon influencer page. It's just an easy way to do that, and, it helps me out. I don't make much off of them, but it's just a really good place that has a lot of radios, probably a couple dozen of all calibers. You have emergency radios, solar-powered ones, a hand crank. You have just small little pocket radios. You have these real big ones, they're fancy. You have ones with the analog dial, the digital ones, and everything in between, all price ranges. And I've just been trying my best to expose this beautiful medium of shortwave to an audience that has never known of it. And, I'll get emails from people that do get the radios, and they say, it's just so incredible to even though I do have the world at my fingertips with my smartphone, there's just something authentic about scanning through the radio static and picking up a radio station from China or New Zealand or Cuba, and even if the audio quality might not be the best, to be able to hear a news report from India, even with the fading and everything, and hear the sitar music or some contemporary Turkish music from the Voice of Turkey, or some revolutionary marching music from North Korea, or K-pop from KBS World Radio, or anything in between. I just say, it's just more authentic, and it's kind of cool to be able to have this radio and you could just hear all this stuff, even in this day and age, 2018, and trust me, more people listen to shortwave than you think. The Christmas broadcast goes to show it. People said, no one listens, and even I was kind of getting a little down on my luck, and I couldn't believe how many people tuned in. Shortwave is still alive, well, and it's still going. That's why whenever I hear about broadcasters that might drop their service to North America, I shake my head, because little do they know how many people still listen to shortwave radio. And that's why I can promise you this. As long as I do this show, as long as I'm alive, have the motivation to do this and the financial resources to do this. Yes, this broadcast will go out on TuneIn and on SoundCloud, but it will also serve South America and North America, and preferably Europe as well, with a shortwave service, guaranteed. For as long as this show exists, it will be broadcast on all of those platforms. And it's so wonderful to serve a domestic and international audience, young, old, any race, gender, occupation, background. So wonderful to serve all of you, wherever and whoever you are, however you're listening. Let's not forget our online and mobile listeners either. So great to be here. It's my pleasure to be here, and with great pleasure I say, into 2019 we go, onward, forward, and upward. This has been the Year in Review for VORW Radio International 2018 edition. Your feedback is appreciated at vorwinfo@gmail.com. Alright, well that's all that I wanted to talk about today. I talked for quite some time, and with the talk, let's give my voice a rest. Let's get into some music. The VORW Music Mix, first time I've ever called it that, but that's what it is coming up next. We got your shout-outs, your requests, your dedications, and lots of mixed music from all the decades, all the eras, and all the genres. It's coming up next. Got a good variety. Stay tuned. This is VORW.